It has been a long journey of discovery. 3 months ago, I defined literacy as having the ability to read and write. That was it, short and simple, an all-encompassing definition for a narrow concept. Little did I know then that I had hardly scratched the surface and would spend the subsequent 3 months twisting, turning, expanding, redefining, and discovering the enormity of the concept of what it means to be literate. As new forms of technology allow us to communicate in increasingly different and quicker ways, has literacy kept up with the pace? Does accessing and utilizing these technologies require us to be literate of their inner workings? One thing is for sure. My old definition of having the ability to read and write is utterly deficient in covering the expanding landscape of literacy. So what does it mean exactly to be literate? The past decade I have been a working chef at a busy family restaurant. The inner workings of a kitchen have now become so commonplace to me that sometimes I'm shocked by how difficult it can be for a newbie to understand. I've worked in many different kitchens, but some commonalities are inherent to them all. All kitchens share a common ancestral language, while many have their own colloquialisms. They all stem from the same culinary lingua. Where and when this proto-kitchen language first developed is shrouded in mystery. But what is not a mystery to any cook is why the boss shoots you a look of disdain every time you tell them you had to 86 a food item because you forgot to order more. Every kitchen the world over can identify the hapless look of someone who is in the weeds. Shouts of behind, corner, open, hot, and knife are all warning signs that all of us can identify with. But in the kitchen, they provide a verbal and mental map to the literate employee that somewhere behind you, just around the corner, there is an open oven door with boiling hot liquids being maneuvered by a chef who is probably crazy, wielding a large, extremely sharp knife. Your survival depends on your understanding the lingo. Simply put, to properly navigate the world of a kitchen, you need to learn its language, customs, and practices. You need to become literate. Add the fact that everything in the kitchen happens in fifth gear, that many of its inhabitants do not speak English as a first language, that most of the people are armed with small swords, and fire and boiling liquids are as ubiquitous as loud music and angry waitstaff, you soon have a recipe for disaster. How to avoid such calamity? Well, for starters, everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to be able to access and understand the same information as everyone else. Everyone must be kitchen literate. If an order comes in and it clearly states that table 2 needs a refi of 2 steak specials, 1 medium, 1 black and blue, 1 no-starch sub-veg with a monkey dish of sauce and 2 baked all day, you had better be literate or soon we'll all be in the weeds. So you see, if the utility of literacy can be found in the tiny kitchen of a family restaurant, just imagine, by comparison, how important it is in the classrooms of our educational system. 3 months ago, my understanding of literacy was boxed in by the narrow focus of reading and writing. But as I've just shown by the example of the restaurant, there are many layered and nuanced dimensions to what it means to be literate. This class, Digital Literacies, has broadened my understanding of literacy to encompass the many skills required of teachers and students of history. Skills and devices such as critical thinking, corroboration, awareness of sources, unraveling and recognizing bias, and contextualization are skills not simply acquired by having the ability to read and write, but are tools utilized by those who are literate thinkers and evaluators of history. These applications are part of the package of being a literate student of history and must be taught. 3 months ago, I did not have a coherent grasp of this relationship. 3 months ago, I would not have recognized that without these literacy skills, history could be as confusing and unrecognizable as the world of a kitchen does to a newbie on their first day of work. Literacy in history provides an accessibility to the past that enriches the subject and hopefully creates a more vibrant picture that can spark interest in what for many is a drab and dreary subject. For example, as a student learns to approach history with a critical eye and begins to recognize the bias lurking beneath many of the sources we all accept as factual, the student will become more of an active participant in research and learning, depending more on their ability to think for themselves and subjectively interpret the material, and less on being a mere consumer of information. I believe there is a latent desire to understand our past, for we are all, to a certain degree, the direct outcome of it. We are all playing our own parts in writing the very last sentence, on the very last page, found in the epic of human life. Instead of turning to the last page to see how the story ends, history allows us to flip through the pages to discover how we ended up where we are now. Historical literacy provides us with the required tools to get the clearest, most accurate picture of the past. For without the ability to think critically, corroborate with others, contextualize sources, and recognize bias, we will never understand history and likely be doomed to repeat it, as the saying goes.